I'm Paul Sanger for the Finance News Network, and today I'm in beautiful Noosa at the Noosa Mining Conference. I just called up with DYL MD John Borshoff, and this is what he had to say. John, many thanks for taking the time to come to your booth to chat with me today.
Pleasure to be here.
Now, before we start, I wanted to say, obviously, day 2 of the Noosa Mining Conference, and I have to give you the award. I've been looking at your booth for the last 2 days, and you've been in deep conversations for pretty much every hour that I've been here, so you definitely win the award for the most popular company here this week.
Thank you. I think it's just reflective of where nuclear and uranium are.
Absolutely. So let's talk about DYL. What's the status of the company's 2 key uranium projects in Namibia and WA?
So that's a very good question. Basically, when I took over management of DYL, my ambition was to get 2 greenfield projects identified and put on a schedule and position the company for when the upturn in nuclear happened. The reason I use that model is that I did the same with Paladin, and where I had 2 greenfield projects in Langer Heinrich and Kayelekera and my team, and when the China phenomena happened, Paladin took off spectacularly, both because of its timing, ability and delivering these projects to their production capacity. DYL is in exactly the same position now, and the big thing is that this nuclear sort of revival is, the China phenomena is dwarfed because that was just one economy that drove that period. This one is almost every country in the Northern Hemisphere is embracing nuclear. The Middle East is embracing it, and now demand is without question. And what is the problem is supply, and DYL was conceived, vision on, there was no builders of uranium mines, supply would be constrained, and an industry that had to do nothing completely in this downturn of 12 years is unprepared, is not muscular enough to match the demand that's coming up. So our schedule is that these projects will be developed before the end of this decade, and with a projection that Tumas will be commissioning in mid-26, and Mulga in Western Australia will be commissioning in mid-28.
And do you see any additional M&A opportunities for the company?
So I always say to people that a sector that has been so damaged and and so under-resourced, and to get out of that syndrome. Historically, with any commodity, you find that this consolidation is an integral part of that healthy revival. And I regard that, the only way I can liken it is if you had an orchard that you didn't water or fertilise for 10 years, the first thing you've got to do is assess each tree, get there with a chainsaw, bloody cut down the superfluous, get the tree to growth potential, and then fertilise and water. I see that as a metaphor for what has to happen in the supply industry. And yes, I do agree, sector consolidation is part of that muscling up, and where those opportunities are, how accretive they are, is the sort of the $1 million question.
I hope you don't mind me asking this question, but what's your view on the outlook for the uranium policy in WA?
So, as you know, when the Barnett government lost power just before 2016, they released 4 approvals for uranium. 2 of Cameco, which is Yeelirrie and Kintyre, Vimies, which was Mulga, and Toro, which was the Lake Wade. When Labor came in, all of the companies except Vimy abandoned ship. left one guy in the, at the lookout, and whereas Vimy, and one thing they did well, even though they left it maybe at the latest thing, they then committed, spent, and did the amount of work and substantial work to meet that hurdle for validation for continuation of that environmental approval. So in that way, Deep Yellow is comfortable. It has advantage. I believe West Australia should become part of the sort of letting uranium mining happening. I think that the weight of the sort of various lobby groups in Labor is that they won't change their policy, and even though some people want that to happen. And so we will do some quiet lobbying as well. The powers that be there understand that they must allow export, or they're not to say, Canberra does that, but that you can't deny countries that are surrounding Australia that using nuclear as the means of zero emission, as Australia using renewables. We won't talk about which is good, better or not. So there's no issue about once you get the uranium there that Canberra will allow it to export. So I think it'll take longer than not. I think that Dutton has done a remarkable statesman-like sort of introduction into why nuclear in a staged way. So he's not loading everything else in this complicated world and then it's overload for people to understand. This bit of information, that bit of information, location, cost, and by the time an election happens, the population is suitably briefed not to go into histrionics. So yes, the West Australian coalition needs to be lobbied to see the way in which that's the new path, and again, some of those liberals are also wussies, and they need to understand actually what this energy transition is about. It's serious. It's not going to rely on just these low density systems which will not guarantee industrial power and even sufficient security of power. So that quiet lobbying will go on, yes.
John, can't thank you enough for sharing your views and insights today. Many thanks.
Thank you very much, and I hope this works out. Yeah.